Have you ever had someone look you dead in the eye and dare you to choose between love and self-preservation? I'm Michael Miller, 32 years old, and 2 weeks ago, my fiancée gave me exactly that ultimatum. Her name was Lisa Reed, 29, beautiful, charismatic, and, as I would soon discover, terrifyingly entitled. Here's the thing about second chances in life. Sometimes you don't get a warning sign. Sometimes the universe just hands you a moment of perfect clarity, and you have exactly one shot to act on it. This is the story of that moment, and what happened when I chose myself over someone who never really saw me as a partner at all. Let me back up. Lisa and I had been together for 3 years, engaged for 6 months. The wedding was 4 months away. I thought I knew her. I thought we were building something real. But looking back now, I realize I was in love with a version of her that only existed in my head. I'm not from money. Everything I have, I built myself. 5 years ago, I started an automotive parts supply company in my garage. Just me, a phone line, and relationships I'd built working at auto shops since I was 17. I knew mechanics. I knew what they needed. I knew the suppliers were overcharging them and delivering late, so I became the middleman who actually gave a damn. 80-hour weeks, instant ramen for dinner, sleeping on an air mattress because every cent went back into inventory. It wasn't glamorous, but it was mine. Today, Miller Auto Supply has 15 employees, a 10,000-square-foot warehouse, and contracts with over 200 repair shops across 3 states. I'm not rich, but I'm stable. And that stability, I earned every single dollar of it. Which brings me to the prenup. My lawyer, who's also been my friend since high school, sat me down 3 months before the wedding. "Michael," he said, "I know you love Lisa, but you need to protect what you've built, not just for you, for your employees, for the business." I didn't want to hear it. Prenups felt cold, unromantic, like planning for failure before you've even started. But he was right. The terms were simple. What's mine stays mine. What's hers stays hers. Anything we build together after marriage gets split 50-50. It wasn't about distrust. It was about protecting 15 families who depend on my company for their paychecks. 2 weeks ago, I brought it up with Lisa over dinner. I tried to be gentle. "Hey, I know this isn't the most romantic topic, but my lawyer drew up a prenup. It's pretty standard, just protects the business and makes sure we're both covered no matter what." She smiled, took the folder. "Of course, babe. Let me look it over." I felt this wave of relief. See, I thought, she gets it. We're a team. The signing deadline was last night. We had to finalize it before I made the final $15,000 venue payment. We'd already dropped $5,000 on the deposit. Over dinner at our apartment, the apartment I pay for, by the way, I brought it up again. "Hey, just wanted to check in on the prenup. We need to get that signed before I send the venue payment tomorrow." Her face changed, like a mask sliding off. She set down her fork very carefully. "I've looked at it, and I'm not signing it, Michael." I kept my voice calm. "Okay, what are your concerns? We can have the lawyers adjust." "My concern is the document itself. It's insulting. It's disgusting. It says you think I'm a gold digger. It says you don't trust me." "Lisa, it doesn't say that. It's about protecting premarital assets. It protects both of us. My parents didn't have a prenup. They built their life on trust. This feels like you're planning our divorce before we're even married." I tried reasoning with her. I tried explaining that it wasn't personal. It was business. I reminded her about my employees, their families. But with every word, her position became clearer. She didn't see Miller Auto Supply as something I had built. She saw it as something we would both control. The prenup wasn't an insult to her love. It was an obstacle to her entitlement. And then she said the words that changed everything. "It's either me or that piece of paper, Michael. You have to choose." The room went very quiet. I could hear the refrigerator humming in the kitchen. I could hear my own heartbeat in my ears. And in that silence, something inside me just clicked. I wasn't looking at my partner anymore. I was looking at a stranger with an agenda. A stranger who was willing to gamble my entire life's work on an ultimatum. A stranger who thought that after 3 years together, she could strong-arm me into surrendering the one thing that represented my blood, sweat, and sacrifice. Here's the thing about ultimatums. They're not negotiations. They're power plays. And the only way to win is not to play. I looked at Lisa. I saw the confidence in her eyes. She thought she had me cornered. She thought I'd cave because I loved her, because I'd invested 3 years, because the wedding was 4 months away. She thought wrong. "I understand," I said quietly. Her face lit up. A small, triumphant smile played on her lips. She thought she'd won. "Good," she said. "I'm glad you're being reasonable." I nodded, stood up from the table. "Excuse me, I need to make a phone call." I walked into my office, closed the door, and did something that would change both of our lives forever. I called the venue and canceled the wedding. $5,000 deposit? Gone. But better to lose $5,000 than lose everything. Then I called the caterer. Canceled. The photographer. Canceled. The band. Canceled. And then I did the thing that Lisa would never forgive me for. I logged into our wedding website and the social media event page we'd created for guests. I typed out a simple, factual message. Due to unforeseen circumstances, the wedding of Michael Miller and Lisa Reed, scheduled for October 12th, has been canceled. I apologize for any inconvenience this causes our guests. I wish Lisa all the best. I hit post. Then I packed an overnight bag, walked out of the apartment, and checked into a hotel across town. I turned my phone off. I needed silence. I needed space to process the fact that the woman I was going to marry had just shown me exactly who she really was. And honestly, I needed to be somewhere she couldn't find me when she realized what I'd done. I slept better that night than I had in months. The next morning, I woke up to 73 missed calls and over 100 text messages. But I didn't check them yet. I took a shower. I ordered room service. I drank my coffee slowly. And then came the banging on my hotel room door. I didn't answer. The room phone rang. The front desk clerk sounded nervous. "Mr. Miller, there's a man in the lobby. He says his name is David Reed. He says he's Lisa's father and he's demanding to see you. Should I call security?" I closed my eyes. Here we go. "Tell him I'll meet him in the coffee shop in 10 minutes. David Reed, 62 years old, local real estate developer, big fish in a small pond, member of every business association and charity board in town, the kind of guy who thinks his money makes him untouchable." I met him in the hotel coffee shop. He came in like a storm, red-faced, jaw clenched, pointing his finger at me before he even sat down. "You embarrassed my daughter," he said. No greeting, no preamble. I took a sip of my coffee. Lisa made a choice. I responded to it. "A choice?" He leaned forward, voice dropping to a growl. "You ambushed her with a legal document designed to treat her like a criminal." I offered her to pay for her own lawyer to explain it. She gave me an ultimatum. I chose. His face went even redder. "You're going to fix this, Michael. You're going to call everyone back. Tell them it was a lover's quarrel. Tell them you overreacted. People will understand." I set down my coffee cup, looked him dead in the eye. "The relationship is over, David. There's nothing to fix." I stood up and walked out of the coffee shop, left him sitting there, mouth open, sputtering threats I didn't stay to hear. That was 2 weeks ago. And let me tell you, things got so much worse before they got better.
The fallout started subtly. Too subtly. That should have been my first warning. Lisa didn't rage on social media. She didn't post angry rants or dramatic call-out posts. No, she was smarter than that. She played the victim, the concerned fiancée, the woman who just wanted to help her struggling partner. She told our mutual friends that I'd had a breakdown, that the stress of running the business was getting to me, that I'd pushed her away because I was going through something. She painted herself as the devoted girlfriend, desperately worried about my mental health, heartbroken that I wouldn't let her help. And people believed her. I started noticing it in the way former friends would look at me, concerned, pitying, like I was fragile, like I might shatter if they said the wrong thing. A few reached out with careful, probing messages. "Hey man, just checking in. You doing okay?" It was infuriating. But I didn't engage. I didn't defend myself. Not yet. Meanwhile, I had a more immediate problem: getting Lisa out of my apartment. Legally, she had no claim to it. Her name wasn't on the lease. She'd never paid a dime of rent. But I knew if I just changed the locks, she'd have ammunition to paint me as even more unhinged. So I did it by the book. I sent her a formal, lawyer-drafted email. Since she was not on the lease, she had 30 days to vacate per state tenancy laws. Professional, legal, airtight. Her response came within an hour. But it wasn't an email. It was a phone call. And she was crying. "Michael, I can't believe you're doing this. I have nowhere to go. I'm too devastated to even think about packing. How can you be so heartless?" I didn't pick up. I let it go to voicemail. Then came the texts from her mother, Frances, pages of them, accusing me of throwing Lisa out on the street, calling me cruel, heartless, a coward. I blocked the number. I held firm. 30 days, not 1 day more. But David Reed wasn't done with me, not even close. The real attack came where I was most vulnerable, my business. It started small. One of my key suppliers, a company I'd worked with for 4 years, suddenly tightened my credit line. The account manager sounded apologetic but firm. "It's just market volatility, Michael. Nothing personal. We're doing this across the board." Except I knew they weren't. I called around. Other shops in my network had the same supplier, same terms, no changes. It was just me. A week later, one of my mid-size clients put a promising expansion project on hold. When I pressed them, the owner sounded uncomfortable. "Look, Michael, we've heard some rumors about your company's stability. We just want to wait and see how things shake out." Rumors about my company's stability. I felt my blood go cold. David Reed wasn't making slanderous phone calls. He was too smart for that. He was poisoning the well, dripping quiet suggestions into the ears of people who mattered. He sat on a local business association board. He played golf with half the commercial property owners in town. He knew exactly how to spread doubt without ever saying anything actionable. And it was working. I lost the client. That project would have been a $30,000 contract. Gone. My credit line stayed restricted. My cash flow tightened. I started having to float payroll from my personal savings just to keep my employees paid while I waited on slow-paying customers. David was choking my business, slowly, methodically, and I couldn't sue him because he'd never said a single slanderous word I could prove. The 30 days finally ended last Friday, move-out day. I knew I couldn't be there in person. The confrontation would get ugly, and I needed witnesses who weren't emotionally involved. So I asked my buddy Billy, impossibly calm, unshakable Billy, and his father, who's a retired attorney, to supervise. I gave them a detailed inventory. Lisa's stuff, and only Lisa's stuff, was to be packed and removed. I had receipts, photos, documentation for every major item in that apartment. The morning of the move, Billy texted me. She's here. Her mom, too. This is going to be interesting. 2 hours later, my phone rang. Michael, Billy said, and I could hear the tension in his voice. We have a problem. My stomach dropped. What kind of problem? Lisa's claiming you gave her your grandfather's watch as an engagement gift. She says it's hers. I almost threw my phone across the room. My grandfather's watch, a vintage 1960s Omega Seamaster, the only thing I had left of him after he passed. I'd had it professionally restored. It lived in a watch case on my dresser. Lisa had admired it once. I let her wear it to one event. Once! This wasn't a mistake. This was calculated theft, dressed up as a misunderstanding. Put her on speaker, I said. Billy's father's voice came through, calm and lawyerly. Lisa, Michael's position is clear. This is a family heirloom from his grandfather. It is not wish to dispute this claim. Your recourse is through small claims court. But you will not be leaving with that watch today. I heard Lisa's voice in the background, shrill and furious. He gave it to me. It was a gift. You can't just take back a gift. Billy's father didn't budge. If that's your position, you're welcome to file a claim, but the watch stays here. There was shouting. Lisa's mother got involved, backing up the lie with theatrical conviction. But Billy's father just kept repeating the legal facts, calm and unshakable, until they finally gave up. They left without the watch, but not before Lisa screamed at Billy, "Tell Michael he's not going to get away with this." When Billy called me back, he sounded exhausted. Man, I don't know how you were with her for 3 years. That was intense. Thanks for being there, I said, seriously. No problem, but Michael, watch your back. She's not done. He was right. Over the next few weeks, the attacks continued. The whispers about my business didn't stop. They got worse. Another supplier delayed a critical shipment, citing logistics issues that didn't exist for any of their other customers. I lost another potential client before I even got to pitch him. I was losing ground, losing money, losing sleep. David and Lisa thought they were breaking me. They thought that because I was quiet, I was passive. They thought I'd just take it. They were wrong. See, while they were busy sabotaging me, I was doing something they never expected. I was researching.
I didn't look for some grand conspiracy. I didn't hire a private investigator or hack into anyone's emails. I did something much simpler and far more devastating. I looked at public records. Anyone can do this. Court filings, business registries, local news archives. It's all there if you know where to look, and you're patient enough to dig. David Reed's company website was full of the usual corporate nonsense. Integrity, community partnership, building a better tomorrow. The kind of language that sounds impressive but means absolutely nothing. So I started digging into what his company actually did versus what it claimed to do. It took me about a month of late nights, a few hours here and there after I'd finished dealing with my own business fires. And slowly, a pattern emerged. David's construction company had been taken to small claims court 6 times in the last 3 years. 6 different small contractors, electricians, plumbers, painters. The claims were always the same. Unpaid final invoices, usually between $5,000 and $10,000. David's strategy was brutally simple.
He'd hire small, family-run subcontractors for jobs. They'd do the work, he'd pay them for everything except the final invoice. Then he'd just ignore them. If they took him to small claims court, he'd either stall until the last minute and settle for less, or he'd just eat the judgment because it was cheaper than paying what he actually owed. He was a bully. He crushed small businesses because he knew they couldn't afford a protracted legal fight. He knew they needed that final payment to make payroll, to pay their own suppliers, to keep their lights on. And he did it over and over again because no one had ever connected the dots. Until now. This was my leverage. This was the truth behind the community leader mask. My counteroffensive wasn't a single dramatic move. It was a series of careful, indirect actions. First, I had quiet, one-on-one conversations with the mutual friends who actually mattered. I didn't rant. I didn't show them spreadsheets or play recordings. I just told my side. Simply. Honestly. I told them about the prenup ultimatum, about Lisa trying to claim my grandfather's watch, about the rumors that were costing me clients and money. The truth, delivered without hysteria, has weight. The social tide didn't turn overnight, but it turned. Then came the catalyst. One of the subcontractors who'd sued David was a small electrical company with a stellar reputation. I knew their name from my own industry network. They did work for several of the auto shops I supplied. I drafted an anonymous letter, printed it at a FedEx shop 3 towns over, mailed it from a postbox nowhere near my home or business. The letter was simple. It listed the other 5 small claims cases against David's company, complete with case numbers from public records. It detailed the whispers I'd heard about my own company's stability and suggested a pattern. David Reed uses his influence to crush people who cross him, and he's been doing it to small business owners for years. I ended with the question, how many others has he done this to that never filed claims? How many just ate the loss because they couldn't afford to fight? I included no information about myself. I wasn't in that letter anywhere. I lit the match. It was up to them whether they wanted to start the fire. They did.
About 3 weeks later, a local business journal published an article titled "Development Leader Accused of Systematic Non-Payment. Local Contractors Allege Pattern of Abuse." The owner of that electrical company, now armed with the knowledge that he wasn't alone, had organized the other small business owners. They'd gone to the press together, presented their case numbers, showed their documentation. My name was never mentioned. The story was entirely about David Reed and his alleged history of stiffing the little guy. The fallout was beautiful. For David, the article was catastrophic. His entire reputation was built on being a pillar of the community, a guy who supported local businesses. The story made him look like exactly what he was, a bully with money. The charity board he sat on, they accepted his resignation within 48 hours. A major investor in one of his upcoming projects pulled out, citing reputational concerns. The whispers he'd started about me were drowned out by a roar of accusations about him. He wasn't ruined, he's still wealthy, but his influence diminished, his reputation stained, and now he was fighting his own PR nightmare, too busy defending himself to come after me. For Lisa, the consequences were more social than financial. The story about her father confirmed what I'd been quietly telling people. This was a family that felt entitled to other people's work, other people's money, other people's legacies. Her social circle didn't abandon her completely, but it shrank. The last I heard through mutual acquaintances, she's dating someone new, not the successful entrepreneur type she and her family clearly expected, just a regular guy. She still posts vague, sad things on social media sometimes, but now they don't read like tragedy. They read like sour grapes. As for me, I'm not going to pretend it was a clean victory. I lost clients, I took financial hits, the stress was immense, and there were nights I'd barely slept. But my company stabilized. The rumors died down once the source of the poison was exposed.
My suppliers quietly restored my credit terms. New clients started coming in, referred by the shops that had stuck with me through the rough patch. I learned a brutal lesson about vetting the people you let into your life, about the difference between love and manipulation, about the importance of protecting what you've built, even when it feels unromantic. I don't feel triumphant, mostly I just feel tired, but also profoundly relieved. My grandfather's watch is on my dresser. It ticks steadily, keeping perfect time, a quiet reminder of what's real and what lasts. The engagement was a mistake, but the way I ended it, that was the most important business decision I ever made. I protected my foundation, and in the end, that foundation is still standing. So let me ask you something. Have you ever had to choose between protecting yourself and keeping the peace? Have you ever walked away from someone you loved because staying would have cost you everything? What would you have done in my position? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if this story resonated with you, hit that like button and subscribe to Hidden Hearth. We share real stories about real decisions, the ones that define who we are when everything's on the line. Thanks for listening. I'll see you in the next one.